And what happens is you can now downgrade your sympathetic going into a parasympathetic system. So I teach people that it's not oxygen in, CO2 out. CO2 is actually just as good for you as O2. But if you can manipulate your breathing, then your breath right here under your nose can turn into your first responder to your nervous system to any situation so that chaos can happen around you, but it doesn't have to happen to you.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I am your host and coach, Tyler Johnson. And whether you're listening to elevate your mindset, your game, or just your day, you are in the right place. My guest this episode is a breathwork, mindfulness, meditation, and yoga teacher and certified Wim Hof method instructor. He started to explore breathwork and yoga 16 years ago when he was struggling with chronic physical and mental health issues. Spent time living in India in an ashram under the guidance of an Indian guru that helped him quickly begin to regain control over his several health issues. His depression, anxiety, and chronic back pain started to dissipate in a very short period of time, which he'll share about here. He has gone on to teach programs to thousands of individuals, including people from corporations, government and agencies, elite military, and professional athletes. Welcome to the Elev8 podcast, Dan Deluis. Dan, how are we today?
I'm doing amazing. I woke up today and I'm pretty grateful for that. That's how I start every day. I'm grateful when I get up because a lot of people didn't.
Yeah, no doubt. Love starting. No better way to start the day, I think, with some gratitude. So love leading off that way. Grateful to have you join us on this grateful day. For those listeners that are a little less familiar and just connecting with you as well, I'd love to hear, what kind of led you into the work that you do, and then tell us a little bit about all the things that you do.
Okay. All right. I'll give you the long and short of it. About 25 years ago, I ended up with a pretty bad spine injury. Just had me laid up for about a week, and then that was the first time I had a taste of opioids. And my back healed laying around doing nothing, but I never rehabbed it. So what happened was they found out later on, much later on, after a lot more problems happened, was that one of my hips turned up. So I ended up with a spine injury. I herniated a couple discs. I ended up in bed for about 2 years. And then I had a pretty nasty run-in with hydromorphone, Dilaudid, Oxycontin, all that kind of stuff, and hit rock bottom, the proverbial rock bottom. In about 2005. I was actually in a store picking up my Oxy or my hydromorphone prescription, and I was just getting DVDs, and DVDs will tell you my age now because back then we had DVDs. So anyways, I get them because I'd be laying around all the time. I was in bed, right? So I was walking with a cane. I was also hunched over. I looked like a question mark when I walked. I looked like I was 90. And I found this DVD. I just saw it by chance. And it was like when I was at the end of my rope, and it was a DVD. It said yoga for back pain. And it had two people in their 70s in a chair doing a twist on the front. It was like $3. And I said, you know what? I'm willing to try anything. And I had a martial arts background, so I kind of fell in love with this 25-minute routine, and it had breathing in it, breath work you had to follow with it. And I just felt something. And then there was this thing that clicked, and it was like I just dove and went down that road, so to say. And then all of a sudden, 2 years with doctors and pain management clinics and chiros and physio and acupuncture. It was kind of just sustaining me, but I was laying around. They told me to lay around. So just wasn't working. And all of a sudden I felt something, and I felt this difference, and I started to walk straighter. Now I'm not walking without a cane. And I decided to leave the job I had. And I had a great job working for 3M, a big multinational company, and people thought I was crazy. I was like, I'm going to do this stuff. So I went and lived at an ashram, a yoga camp with the Hindus, and a bunch of yogis and swamis. And within 2 weeks, they had me playing soccer again, running around. And then depression, anxiety just started just dissipating. So I really dove into the breath work part, the self-awareness part. I really loved it. I hated meditation. Meditation sucks. I tell all my clients, I'm a meditation coach. So I tell people it sucks, but the bridge, the gap for me, there was just something I knew. And when I lived there for quite a while till I was ready. And then I went out into the world about 20 years ago and just started teaching. And I really, I was doing it because it came from a place that really helped me. And I still have, so much passion for it. It really saved me. And, I just threw myself into teaching. And I think it's Malcolm McDowell's, or no, the one guy, the 10,000 rule. What, do you remember him? Do you know him?
Gladwell, yeah,
Gladwell, that's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went off and like in 4 years, I taught 10,000 hours of yoga and breathing and meditation, and I wanted to become the master. And I burned myself out actually doing that. And then, started learning about burnout and balance and all this stuff. So, I've been doing this now for 20 years. I was just lucky. I met Olympians, Olympic coaches. I would meet doctors that were, hooked up with NHL players. And then all of a sudden Instagram took off, and I have like almost 400 and some thousand followers. And then actors started following me, celebrities, football coaches. I started working with all these people online. In my story, they seen where I came from, and the addiction part, even with the back part, and going a different route to heal my mind. And I just kept plugging away. And then for some reason, I've just been so blessed. Now I teach special forces all over the world. I teach people. Just people always ask me this question of what I do and what my job is. Especially I fly a lot. I get this on planes. And they say, you seem so happy. I go, well, I mean, that's the only way to be, I think, So what do you do? And I say, well, I help people also feel happy. So yeah, I teach a lot of breath work, self-awareness. I teach very profound, powerful breathing techniques that allow us to reach an altered states of mind that people didn't realize. And now with technology, being able to see the things that I do through cold bathing is another thing. And one thing I teach a lot of the special forces, and I'm going to be going over to, looks like I'm going over to Europe. I can't tell you which country, but I'll be teaching them, breath work, mindset training, self-awareness through the breath work, how to tap into a deeper energy in the body that can make you do things that you never thought. And then we also use a lot of ice bathing through that because, ice bathing, and I use that with football, especially in hockey players, because when they're on the ice or on the field, it's a battle. And the reason why special forces love to learn about, the deeper inner workings of ice bathing is that it's like a flight simulator for pilots. Well, it's a fight simulator for soldiers because it puts you in such a state. And I've designed as a Wim Hof instructor, and I went off with them, but also, with my related friends in, Arctic military operations for NATO and all these, I have a lot of really amazing researchers and friends that I put together how to use ice bathing as a really powerful tool, and not just to get your selfie and put it on your Instagram when you fight through it and you never do an ice bath again. So I teach a lot about routine, and one of my big things, and I'll finish it off with this because as you can see, I can talk, is hacking. We're taught about biology, and my new platform, it's called Hacking Your Happiness on the School platform. And the reason why I put it out there is because in school, we're taught about biology, and I'll give you an example. Inhale oxygen, good for you. Exhale CO2, bad for you. What I teach people is inhale through your nose to create nitric oxide, which is a chemical that will actually vasodilate and open up your arterial system, giving you better circulation. Then you exhale slower, and what happens is you can now downgrade your sympathetic, going into a parasympathetic system. So I teach people that it's not oxygen in, CO2 out. CO2 is actually just as good for you as O2. But if you can manipulate your breathing, then your breath right here under your nose can turn into your first responder, to your nervous system, to any situation, so that chaos can happen around you, but it doesn't have to happen to you. And in that way, we also teach through breath that you can connect to your body. I do a lot of trauma releasing stuff with people with PTSD, a lot of ex-military veterans, and I've designed programs to, I call them the breath sessions. I actually call it's where you get your demons out. They're called exorcisms in a way. But yeah, so I mean, I could tell you I do courses and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's the gist of it. I try to make people feel better by getting them to learn how to use their biology instead of just of what they learn in school of what their biology is. It's just this physiological thing that does what it does. It's like, well, you can actually do a lot of stuff with it.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's amazing. Amazing story. One thing I wanted to ask you, you mentioned there too, about, meditation can suck and be tough. What are some of the, when you work, in the sports and with the military forces, some of the other misconceptions that sometimes you have to overcome, that you sense with some people?
Well, some of this, a lot of the walls that I hit when I walk into a place is their minds aren't open, because as soon as you hear breath work, meditation, or even some yoga involved, then they think woo-woo. They think this mystical kind of thing. But what I've done and what I do, and I debunked a lot of that stuff as soon as I walk in, is that I explain to them that these are ancient traditions that I'm teaching you that have been around for 5,000 years, and they've been around for a reason. They haven't gone away like trends we see nowadays. They're in and out. But what we've done is I provide the information behind those now, because they've been studied extensively, and what breath work, ice bathing, what self-awareness can do. Like, there is so many studies and papers. For example, there was a Harvard study that followed 1,000 people, and it was about success in life. Success was measured by following your dreams, living a full life on your own terms, happy, healthy, and strong emotionally. Now, what they found in the 1,000 people that they followed, and this was a Harvard study, didn't matter what race, creed, color, religion, anything. What they found, the most successful people, after they followed them from when they were born till 30, the most successful people they found were people that could self-regulate. That means they understood what they needed in the moment, which is self-awareness. Yeah. Most people play the victim. They don't see the problem. They get caught up in a world that's really trying to change us because of technology, and they want you to fall in line like the others. But then as soon as you kind of realize that there is a path that you can follow of least resistance, and that is another thing I talk about is authenticity. And being authentic is the path to find. I actually forgot what I was answering. What was I answering? I'll do this. I'm a yogi.
We started at the things the obstacles we kind of you encounter when in trying to
so I think, just to answer the question, is the obstacles I kind of debunk through science now. Science shows us what a breath and the biology thing and how we can manipulate. Because one of the most profound things I ever heard was one of my first teachers. It was a Swami at an ashram, in very monastic style, and, philosophy, breathwork, very routine. He said, Dan, and I talk with him often. And I said, especially at the beginning, because I was all messed up. And he said, Dan, he goes, just think of it this way. You think too complicated, you make things too complicated in your mind. Your energy. And he even said, scientific wise, your energy. You're a cellular machine that has a mitochondria in each of those trillions of cells. Yeah. And in that mitochondria is an oven, it's an engine. And you put glucose and oxygen. It creates ATP, adenosine, which is light energy. He goes, your energy. He goes, your job here and the rest of your life now is to manipulate that energy for good. You were manipulating it for bad. Depression, anxiety, my problems, being a victim, and all this stuff, and not moving my body. They even said I was lazy. It used to piss me off when I first got there. They're like, you're lazy. And I'm like, I'm not lazy. And then after a while, I was like, yeah, I was pretty fucking lazy.
talked about made me think there when I was listening to you, and then your admittance there to that. Yeah, one of the things I think we struggle with sometimes is that acceptance of where we are, right? And how that can help us. We struggle with the victimization and blaming or excuses. And can you talk about how simply acceptance can help put us on a better path sometimes?
Yeah, oh well, definitely. Where we get stuck in that we're not enough kind of thing, and that actually is a programming that's very deep inside of us from when we were a kid, because we're told to listen to everybody, and we got all these people that taught us all this shit when we were growing up, and then you look at them now, and they're still dumb. So you like so this self-acceptance thing is a hard thing because people kept telling you along the way is like, you're not good enough. You got to be better. You got to do it this way. This is the way, my way. So, I always say, and I just actually I'm writing this for a post that's going out tomorrow, which is kind of odd, but funny, serendipitous, is that the post that I'm talking about tomorrow is learning how to be your best own friend. Because everybody wants somebody that's there for them, but they forget about themselves because they were taught they're never good enough.
Yeah.
So becoming your own friend. And I tell people this, do you want to become your best friend? And they'll be like, yeah. Because, you want to. Because a lot of people, when they sit back and look at it, they don't like that's why people hate meditation. They sit down in silence by themselves. They don't like it because they don't like the person they're with. And I say that, I was told that by one of my teachers.
Yeah, yeah.
But to become your best friend, they say, well, what's the first thing? And I said, the greatest life hack on the planet. And I teach this to celebrities and singers and actors and whatever, and elite athletes that play in the NHL, NFL, whatever. I say, just do what you said you were going to do. And we don't. And that's the first place where we let ourselves down.
Yeah.
And in doing so, because of the fear of failure, the fear of what others think, of those people that were telling us how to be and how to live and all this stuff. But when we accept the fact that we have to be responsible for ourselves, because you can't be your best friend. So if your best friend was always saying, I'll be over on Wednesday for coffee, and he missed five Wednesdays, you're like, and he's like, I'll be over. You're like, get out of here. I don't, you're wasting my time. I'm waiting around for you. Think about it as yourself. Imagine if you keep telling yourself, I'm going to get up early and go to the gym, but you don't. I'm going to get a work. I'm going to do my breath work today because I know my breath work clears my mind, and I don't. I keep letting myself down. What is that going to do? That's going to create a vibe and an energy where, well, we just procrastinate. And I always say every second you procrastinate is give a second to death, because you're not living fully. Yeah. Shit, I got to put that in an Instagram post.
That is.
Let me write that down.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But yeah, so I think the self-acceptance is can be done in little steps. First is recognizing that you are your own friend. It's not being selfish. It's not me first. It's me too. Mm-hmm. And if I don't take care of myself, what kind of life am I going to have? Because at the end, you're just looking back going, how did I make others feel? How did I make myself feel? Yeah. And if you leave that out of the equation, you're not going to be able to, because if you don't have love inside of you, you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to give love to anybody else? Yep. If you got a lot of anger inside of you and a lot of tension and stress, you'll have a lot of stress you're going to give everybody else.
No doubt. Yeah. Beautifully put. What for those of you touched on it earlier, I do like myself a cold plunge and an ice bath, and for a lot of the, which I think it's, we joke the Instagram rage of it now. It's like that, I guess we did it a lot playing college football. It was like you sat in ice all the time. I wish it would have been paired with some more breath work. It was more for injuries and physiological feelings in recovery. Yeah. But in my experience, but now, much more integrated into kind of nervous system regulation. And Wim Hof, for those that may be less familiar with some of that methodology, could you kind of touch on that and maybe give some people some truce to some efficient ways to get in the cold?
Oh, I'd love to, because that's the one thing I've actually done articles in magazines and papers just because we're seeing it done in a very dangerous way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like anything. I mean, you can drink too much cold water. You can, too much water,
Mm-hmm.
too much breathing, but you can also do the cold too much. So that's the first thing that I really don't like seeing is, Joe Rogan going on and doing a 20-minute cold bath, which does fuck all for you. Excuse me, I do swear once in a while. So
Oh, good. We're good.
we're good. Okay. So it does nothing except traumatize the body. And I explain to these, people when I'm doing it, and I have a workshop this weekend, my last Wim Hof for the year, is that get good at a 2-minute ice bath. Get good at it. And there's ways to be good at doing an ice bath. So I work with people with injury, right? A lot of athletes and stuff, they come to me, especially once an elite athlete gets hurt, then there's the anxiety part, career, all that stuff. So I love working with them with that, but they're doing cold the different in the wrong way. So when, say, an athlete gets in with an injury, and you were saying you were doing it for recovering injury when you were in college. Where'd you play college ball?
Northern Iowa, University of
Oh,
Northern
okay.
Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're injured in an area, say, your hip's injured, whatever, lower back, and you want to bring some inflammation down, which is ice bathing's great for, because it can actually it can trigger the cytokines in the body, these proteins that can take down inflammatory markers and bring up anti-inflammatory markers. So you're kind of playing with your chemistry. It's amazing. But if you get into an ice bath, like a lot of people do, and they fight it, especially men, and I gotta tell you, women are better at this than men, because women can take pain and process it. Guys, what do? We want to hit it head on, go right at it. So I've had linebackers, 300 pounds, get in my ice bath, and they're trying to push their feet through it. They're like fighting it. And you can't fight Mother Nature. I explained to them, she's righteous, but she's merciless, and you're going to get your ass handed to you. But what happens if you're injured and you get in properly preparing yourself with breath work? It's almost like priming the pump. Your anxiety or your adrenaline doesn't shoot up. It's already up there. We can do that through breath. But then going in quiet and calm, not worrying about it, getting in control of this mind. Then going in slowly to the bath, getting in, and then doing a breath technique to just prime it even more, and then release and relax into the tub. So when you're in a tub, and if you're pushing and you're fighting, what's happening to the injury?
It's tense.
You're just
tense.
It's creating tension there. But what happens if you get into the bath and you stay that 5 minutes? Because bigger athletes, I'll have them staying longer, because they have the vasculature. These football players, some of them are just giants. And I'll say, relax into it. Focus on your breath. And not only physiologically in the pain body is going to go down, and it's going to be an immense benefit for it. But then the cross adaptation thing happens. If you can quiet down in a bath, not fight it, not have your music blaring, not raw and all this shit, getting your picture taken, make sure you got your phone on you, giving some sort of magical advice now, which I've done, but I do that for Instagram. But you should be focused on getting good at that 2 minutes. But the thing is that, and I'll go back to what we said about special, just love it, is because it's a simulation of being in a battle, of being in a very dangerous situation. But the only thing that really adds danger to water and heat even is time. So if you stay 2 to 5 minutes, you're good. So take that 2 to 5 minutes and relax. So if you're in a noxious experience, painful, especially at 2-3 degrees cold, or Fahrenheit for you guys would be 32, 34. I get that messed up there, miles and kilograms, Celsius,
Right.
But I'm in the States so much, and I do so much. Most of my followers from the States, I always use miles anyways. But if you're in the bath in a traumatic experience and you prepped yourself for the trauma that's coming, then you're in the trauma and you're relaxed. Then you get out slowly. So get good at prepping, good at being in, get good after. My point is that when you can stress yourself traumatically at the fight or flight brainstem saying, danger, you're going to die, but there's no danger unless it's time, and you're calm, when you get out of the ice bath, something will click. And military and law enforcement always say, they go, what was that? And I go, that was the click. Because now when they go to work and you see that guy at the, I always use the water cooler Monday morning, there's that asshole that said something 5 years ago, you fucking hate him. He pisses you off. He's always getting under your skin. All of a sudden you're walking up there and you're getting your coffee and he's yapping away and you're like, oh. Because if you can handle stress at that system, all of a sudden it cross adapts into your real life.
For sure.
So you go deep, deep within. This is the trick, and I'll give you the trick to ice bathing. Prep, okay, through breath. In it, breath. After, breath and self-awareness. There's going on, eat the system, and I'll get into that in a second. But if you can get good at ice bathing for that couple minutes, that will cross-adapt into your whole life. Yeah. You will be able to become really powerful. Now, this is how you handle cold. The cold will do this to you. And the inhale is the sympathetic side of your nervous system. But here's the key, and I'm going to save a lot of people money. They don't have to go to workshops now, but you should. You learn all the other shit. Is the exhale is the other side of your nervous system. So if I inhale, and I go like this, all the way out. Purse your lips, so you create some tension, so you have more control. Instead of going, do this. It takes you out. Your breath's trying to breathe you out of the bath. Now you breathe back in. And then all of a sudden, taking another step, now nose.
Yeah.
Now nose both ways. And slower. So the more you control the breathing, every breath you control says to the nervous system, okay, he's got it. Okay, but take him out. It's dangerous. Oh, but he's got it. Okay. He's got it. He's got it. Whoa. And all of a sudden, yesterday I had 3 ladies here, never done it before, prepped them, did all the whole thing, explained it to them. And they said, first 20 seconds is going to suck. But I said, you've all had children and you went through labor. Can you make it? They're like, and I love giving perspective shifts. And they're like going, oh, damn right, I can do it. I had a 48-hour labor. I was like, okay. They get in, and after about 30 seconds, we do a certain technique inside. I don't want to teach that one now because you got to have somebody with you, and it's, you know, you can kind of get dizzy and pass out. So they're all look at me after 30 seconds, and they look at me and they go, what the hell? They go, I feel warm. But see, if you get in and fight it and tense up, it gets colder. If you accept it, let the body do what it can, and then do these little hacks I show you, the warm, you'll feel the warmth, the heat that it's generating inside the power. And that's what I say to athletes and especially special forces, is that it's like comparing the sun is so powerful, right? The cold's powerful. But if you get into the sun, say, take the magnifying glass, you can harness its power. Same thing, you get into an ice bath, you can harness its power of resiliency, of being enough. Because people think they're not enough. You do an ice bath at 1-2 degrees, or 36 Fahrenheit. You get out of that, you feel like this, and this is the science part of it. For about 6 days after, it's been shown, remember, it's not a 20-year study. So all the shit you hear Huberman saying, and it's been shown in 12 people, that's 12 people. It's this. But it's been shown that it will activate and trigger your immune response. You actually start to make, and they've seen it, more white blood cells. So you're strengthening your immune system. It's been shown, so they say. Your inflammatory markers, your L-leukin, I think it's 8. Okay, no, I'm not going to get too technical, but there's L-leukin cytokines that are inflammatory. They come down for about 6 days. The anti-inflammatory proteins in your blood go up for about 6 days. So now you're bringing down inflammation. But here's the fun fact, and the reason why everybody loves it is that, and they get hooked on it, is that you release your baseline of adrenaline, put 3 more on top of that. So you got 4 times your adrenaline that you normally have. Your baseline dopamine, again, 3.5 to 4 times, maybe 5 times dopamine that you do have. When you have adrenaline and dopamine, you can't have depression, because that's what depression usually is derived from. Okay. You can't have depression. You can't have ADHD. You are dialed in. But then if you feel it and take the time and make everybody out of the ice bath, they don't go rah, rah, and run around. I go quiet. We'll do that in a second. We'll let some of that harnessed energy out, but listen to what's going on underneath. And when you listen, you feel this sense of well-being, because not only do you have the adrenaline and dopamine, you have endorphins, different ones, but then you also get this: opioids made in the analgesic brainstem, not the ones outside that have side effects. You also have endocannabinoids, which you get at the weed stores. And I think, and you guys have it's legal there, isn't it?
Colorado, yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's legal here. It's like, I don't know if it's like a Starbucks on every corner. We have like
Same.
7 in a town. Just down here is 20,000 people. We have 7 weed stores.
Welcome to Colorado.
So you're making endocannabinoids, opioids, endorphins, adrenaline, and dopamine. That's the greatest fucking cocktail on the planet. Because guess what you feel like? Superman with clarity.
Yeah.
You'll get down, and I've worked with somebody struggling, in football, coach. He turns around after doing just the breath work, which will give you that also, and writes a manifesto for the team, and then goes undefeated the rest of the season. So I've seen some pretty amazing things happen from breath work, and especially ice bathing. But please, here's the caution. Ice bathing is dangerous because it's the cold. Heat's dangerous because it's the heat. Water's dangerous. You can mess around with that. You just got to have self-awareness. Get good at it, and get good at doing a little bit. Yeah. But listen to where see the comfort zone. I want you to get out of it to the growth zone, but not the danger zone. That's the issue. Because in North America here, North Americans love this. If I tell somebody 2 minutes is good, what's their next question? Well, I could do 20 then, because 20 will be better. It's like, no, because the hormetic stress, like, I go like this with a dumbbell 10 times, 3 or 4 sets. That's hormetic stress. That comes back after trauma, a positive trauma to it. Biological processes make that stronger just in case that shit happens again.
Yeah.
Right? That's what happens with cold. The heat. We have saunas here. It's part of our thermal cycle that we do in our retreats and everything with the heat and the cold. But we do 15 minutes at 180 degrees, 15, 20 at the most. Then you do 2, and I'll decipher whether, you're a bigger person, whatever the shape you're in, if you can do 5 minutes in a 36 degree ice bath. But time is what makes it dangerous. So just do enough. Cold showers, yeah, do 10-minute cold shower. But even then, watch what you're doing, because here we're on a well here, so ice water's cold. Yeah. If you're doing it out in nature, only ever do it with somebody else, because I've seen people slip on the ice, cutting holes in ice and all that kind of stuff. So make safety the priority. Now, I tell everybody this. If you're going to do ice bathing and get into it, you need to do one maybe twice a week. You don't have to do it every day. Unless you have Lyme's disease or something going on, you want to bring that autoimmune thing down, because it will help with that. Yeah. But you need to do it a couple times a week. I take a cold shower, ice cold shower, because the water's cold coming out of here. It's about 40 some degrees now. Dang. I do that every single day. And then twice a week, cold bath. When I'm in North Carolina, they have a beautiful cold facility there. I'll go in once or twice a week into a 40 degree up to neck. Then I go under and do it that way. But listen to your body is what I'm saying. Put gloves, neoprene, get them, and neoprene boots if you're going to do ice bathing more than 2 to 3 times a week, or even, doesn't matter, just get them. Because this is something that's very important that's now that nobody's talking about, but I've seen it lots of times. I go to festivals, people that push it, bring me in to talk to them. People actually don't like it when I come. They all excited because this Wim Hof guy's coming. I was his assistant, whatever, all this stuff. I've been with him, climbed with him 5 times, mountains, whatever. Then I start talking about safety, and they're like, well, no. I go, no, 3 minutes today. It's minus, it's minus whatever out. It's cold. We cut, it's a hole in the ice. You just need 3 minutes in there. No, I do 20. Now, it's called trench foot or trench hands. Back in the wars, they were always wet feet, cold, wet hands, cold. Didn't have the proper equipment in World War I and II. So what happens is that when you're in the cold, your feet and your hands and your legs and your arms vasoconstrict and push all the blood to the organs because we want to save the most important organs, the brain and the organs. That's why you can't stay there too long, because then you stop getting blood to these areas, right? So the thing with it though is the vasoconstriction squeezes all the blood, your arterial system, the endothelium contract, these muscles in your veins, squeezes all the blood. But when it does that, it creates a lot of pressure on the peripheral nervous system. Now, the peripheral nervous system is covered by a myelin sheath. That's a protective sheath. It's actually, you make it through with your cholesterol. So that sheath, if it's continuously squeezed, it will eventually break. And especially if your diet's not good, you're not getting good cholesterol, and cholesterol you need, it's been debunked now. Then you start to break these areas. And I've seen ladies that can't do ice bathing anymore because they had to do 20 minutes every single day. And in a year, they had so much chronic pain in their hands and their feet were damaged. I looked at them when I saw them, completely white, like white like paper. And you can see that they're not getting it. They're not getting the blood there now. There's a lot of vasoconstriction. So gloves, boots, neoprene if you're going to do it, because you don't want to be in pain either, because it hurts like in hell, your feet and your hands. Keep your hands out. Also keep your elbows tight. Armpits, another crazy way you're going to lose heat, right? So when you get into the bath, control through breathing, regulate breath, and try to think about it. You know, people have to meditate for thousands of hours even to see big benefits. You can meditate for those 2 minutes. That's like meditating for 1,000 hours. Quiet your mind down there. But always make sure safety. Have somebody with you in nature, and don't do more than 2. If you're a bigger folk, you're thicker. I'm skinny, I'm thin. I do 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes 5, because I got good at it. It's anything you practice, you get good. But, make sure you're not doing more than 5 minutes. You don't need it, and take care of your body. Just listen to it. And if you're not sleeping, this is another one. If you're not sleeping at night, that means you're doing too much, because you can get stuck. A lot of people trade, and I work with a lot of people that are getting out of drugs, with addiction issues. And I say, now don't just transform this into your new addiction. They're doing it twice a day just to get that to stay, and then they get stuck. The hypothalamus renal axis is stuck, and they're just producing adrenaline all the time. Wim Hof, I remember they were telling me he didn't sleep for the longest time sometimes because he was training so hard to climb Everest in the shorts and all that. So you got to be careful. And that's where I always preach, and I preach it because I practice it, is self-awareness. If you're not sleeping, and that's the foundation of your health, then there's something up here that you're doing that you got to fix. So ice bathing and cold showers should be helping you sleep like the dead. It should. So once your sleep is a really big measuring stick for where you are in your health. So
for sure,
I think did I answer it?
For sure, more than some, tons of wisdom and advice, and I think things to remember. I think for those especially, I just work with a lot of student athletes, coaches, younger minds that are still want to do the things that they think are best for them physically, and learning about those things, how they help them mentally, but often lack expertise in some of that instruction to do it in a way that they're gonna hopefully see the benefits sooner and do it in a healthy way. It is cool to see younger people and things, instead of going to the bars, let's go sauna and ice bath. I love seeing that. The trend shift. But like I said, there's a lot of newness and new information. And so, having people and learn from people that know how to do it and regulate the self is such a difference and game changer. And I think the other thing is it's something, it's been around for 5,000 years. I think on the flip side is because it is accessible to everyone. And I think, and I think that's one thing when it comes to our health and wellness in our communities is how do we make those things, been around for 5,000 years, everyone's.
It's been under their nose the whole time.
We're all in the same stressful world together. And I liked how you said earlier about the nose being our first responder. And I really liked
The
how you
breath,
talked
yeah.
about the,
Mhm.
being our best friend. Because I think that's sometimes with athletes, I ask them, if you had a friend that talked to you like you talk to you, would you want to be that friend? Would you,
You'd want to knock them out.
you're like, wait, yeah, it's like, yeah. And that's, sometimes helping understand that self-talk. And, with those young minds and athletes, if, one or two more questions, but if you had a coach listening that has, a couple minutes, sees this anxiousness in his student athletes in their lives, and they've got a few minutes to do some breath stuff, what would you advise they do? Maybe if they were trying to introduce something to help their
Well,
athletes in a few minutes.
I would teach them, that and with athletes and especially young kids, what I like to do is I like to teach them a really powerful exercise that's going to get them out of their head right away. And once they buy in, that's the thing. So, when I've gone to teams, when the big dog on the team, the captain, buys in and starts to talk about it, then they listen. But if it's just something broad, it's hard, is what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
kids are like, yeah, breathe, really? I can breathe. I know I've been breathing my whole life. But, I'll explain it in a sexy way that we're getting high on our own supply first. I said, I'm going to put you in a state that's, so you want to kind of motivate them, is what I'm saying at the beginning.
Yeah.
Saying, like there's a really powerful technique that, allows these guys to climb mountains in their shorts. These guys that are able to, you know, climb mountains that are, supposedly that would kill you without oxygen, and they're climbing them up there to 20 some thousand feet. I mean, I climbed Kilimanjaro quickly, and then walked mostly back down on my bare feet, which they thought I was nuts. But it was just my breath, being the first responder. What you want to do is you want to get them to experience something. So I explain it also in this way. Flow state is something. So you want to motivate them again.
Good.
Flow state is something for an athlete that every one of them want. That's when you're on the field, and that's actually stillness is flow state. Even stillness in playing football or hockey. That means that you are so into what you're doing that you see everything coming almost in slow motion. And to produce flow state, those are guys like, Michael Jordan or chess masters or mountaineers that climb, because you got to be focused. Just
Sure.
one thing. All the bullshit's got to go away.
100%.
See, we hold on to a lot of shit. The beautiful thing about the breath technique that I first showed them, I said, we're going into flow state in 30. What Michael Jordan, what all these people want to attain. I go, do you guys want to go there? Just give me 30 breath. And that's what I said to, one football team I work with. I was like, hey, and they're looking at you going, I'm going to get you so fucking high on your own supply. And you could hear them. They're all like, 18, 19 college football players. Oh yeah, really? Oh, he said something that triggered me, right? In a way, in a good way. So all of a sudden, I have, 100 men at a retreat from a football team. They're just breathing.
Big in
30 times.
I've done that before. And man, like,
yeah, all the way in, all the way, and just let go. And then on that last breath, you stop and you hold. And the thing is that what you've done with them, what they've done to themselves, they've changed chemistry, they've restricted the vasculature, again, those 80,000 miles of veins and stuff. They've slowed down the human thinking brain to go into this flow state we call transient hypofrontality. When you hold, when the lungs are empty, the brain also slows down. So I explain this to them. And then I'll throw in, yeah, I do this with Velarde from the Winnipeg Jets and blah, 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 and this Olympian or whatever I've taught. And they're like going, oh, okay, well, he does it, these guys do it. I'll even throw in some celebrities, make people, because that stuff will kind of get them excited, right? And then also I always tell them when they go in that the team, is they show them my Instagram, because then all of a sudden they're like going, oh my God, he's an influence. It's just funny. But see, that's how you kind of have to motivate this day and age is give them something, but then quickly make them feel something. Because if you ask them to sit there, okay, we're going to meditate, we're going to practice mindfulness, and you get a mindfulness teacher, and I've been there, and they'll sit up there and I'm learning, and I'm like going, this dude's so boring, he's putting me to sleep.
Yeah.
That's why meditation sucks. Self-awareness sucks, because you have to do a lot of work at the beginning before you start to feel any of the effects. But what happens, and I tell them, in 30 breath, we're going to have the state of a monk that's been meditating for 20 years in a cave. You're going to have so much peace and stillness. Anybody want to shut their brain up? Anybody want to press pause on life right now? And they're like, yeah. Anybody have anxiety or depression? Guess what? That shit goes away too. Can you give me 30 breath? And I'll keep throwing stuff like that. And they're like, so all of a sudden you got their attention now.
Yeah.
Maybe not all of them, but even if I say half of them are doing the breathing and the other ones are making farting sounds or doing whatever, fuck, but you'll see more than half.
Oh, yeah.
Then they're breathing, and then all of a sudden, the guy beside him is like going, okay, maybe I'll get into it. But then I'm pretty, I mean, I do a lot of work with special forces. So we're in, we speak very much, how would you say, clearly?
Yes.
So I go right up to guys that aren't doing it and I'm going, focus.
Yeah.
Can you not focus? And they're like, let's go. And I'm like, 2, 3, 4, let go. I go, superhuman of the future, guys. The only people that are successful in this world are people that can focus. You can't focus on your breath for a minute.
How are you going to do
All
that?
right. Well, then, you know what? You can go. These guys are serious about it. Don't bother them then.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, holy shit, he sees me. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, jump into the room full of the younger football audience type. Someone once shared with me, like the safest thing we have in life is the ability to have that long exhale. And I think when you get sometimes the younger teenagers, unfamiliar, uneducated, just like you said, half of them are like, yeah, I'm going to try this out. And you've got these other ones resisting it. I think sometimes with the younger kids, they haven't, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, is been given permission to slow down and do it. And then B, been in an environment where they feel safe enough to shut their eyes and just breathe. And so they just resist it because it's like, man, I don't want to be the, and so I think there's that, hey, how does, this is actually the safest thing you can do is like be able to have the privilege and honor of exhaling because there's no, you're not threatened.
Yeah. Yeah. We're living in a world that's just always crazy. And we like our brain has evolved so that we're always supposed to be in fear, to think that we're never safe, because that's how we kind of survived to this point. But that was back when there was, saber-toothed tigers and a tribe over there and a frog you can't lick there and that mushroom you can't eat, blah, all that stuff. But now that we've, 250,000 years later, and here we are, do I need to have any anxiety in this room? I mean, I got a house here that shelters me. I got food in the fridge. I got water. And that evolution is still there, which we need, but we only need it to a certain point. But see, people worry so much because they practice and they get good at it, especially in a world that just wants you to worry about the new next magic that's going to save your life and hack your life and blah, blah, blah. And I always say, don't even believe a thing I say. Do something, try it. If it works, you'll understand it. Feelings, understanding. But I always say, I'm only going to teach you the basics. Move well, breathe well, eat clean, drink clean, have some good salt. You're gonna be fine. But we complicate things too much, right? And we make things feel unsafe. And then soon as, I work with teams and I work with, especially when I work with some of the big dog in an NHL team. And, next thing you know, I'm there with the captains and everybody in the basement of one of their houses. And they're all like, they want to learn because they're seeing what it did with this kid. They're like, holy shit. Yeah. Like this guy's dialed in. So sometimes it's a growth phase because I've noticed with certain teams, at the beginning when I've taught a whole team of, say there's 100 on staff, I'm pretty good at motivating. I come in looking a little bit different than most people that they bring in to teach them about stuff. And, and I'm myself, I'm authentic. And sure. I find that kind of is a good way to start because people were like, who the hell is this guy? But then, I get right in their face and I'll motivate in a way when I speak it, but then I tell them, now we experience it. I don't like to talk too much. I want you to feel it. And once they buy in, even a couple of them, then it grows and it grows and it grows. You know, because I've been called at halftime to help with a running back that was like, he's in his head, he's in his head. And then I just simply calm him down, 5 minutes of, breathing in deep and then going, and then hold. And then right after that, then we go into a more humming, stimulating vagus nerve. And then all of a sudden his parasympathetic, and I said, we just need to get into your body. You're in your head. Let's get it. So we get into the body and then watch him go out and score 2 touchdowns, So it's so simple. That's the problem sometimes, that people fear that it's too simple, that it won't work. But then, it's simple. That's the beauty of it, because we've complicated too much about life right now, especially after, we were shut down for those 3 years. And, people had to take a look at what was going on in their lives. And they're like, holy shit, I need to calm some shit down here. Or people just went the other way and just became so unaware and just adding more complications. And then all of a sudden, you're not feeling it. You're not feeling safe, and you won't feel safe.